I was in a real war. It was more of a nightmare, but quite interesting. I was in the middle of nature in the plains, probably in Poland. If I had to find a link with the history, I would say that it is the Germans against the Polish, perhaps the Blitzkrieg in 1939. In my visual field of 500 square meters, and during the entire scene, which lasts 10 minutes, there may have been 50 enemy or German soldiers who passed through, very scattered, and perhaps as many soldiers on the other side, therefore allies or Polish, but who are in the end either killed or moved elsewhere. My memories of the dream are quite hazy. I don't remember exactly if they were killing the soldiers or if something else was happening. Maybe they were doing something on them and there was some sort of exchange of energy. The energy which manifested itself as a ball of plasma and cloud between them and around them. Then the defending soldier or horse either disappeared or died on the spot. And so I think I managed to hide and change places from start to finish, behind a wire fence in the forest, then in a small wooden shed, then behind a tree, and I heard them communicating with each other, them a few meters from me. It's like they're running away from something or heading towards somewhere. Because things were clear, organized. They were heading somewhere and everything was organized by a bigger idea. Therefore, the hierarchy of generals and decision makers of the war. And so at that time, it was not really considered abnormal to wage war in society. That was just how society ran, and that was the business and focus of attention of the majority of people on Earth, or wherever I was. And so somehow the feeling of loneliness and hatred of enemies was replaced by the pleasant feeling of collectivity, of mutual aid, and of doing the right thing, because at least everything was organized and everyone knew what to do and had actions precise to achieve in mind. So if I want to relate this dream to a moment in history, it would have to be the First or Second World War, and it makes me realize to what extent society has evolved in the right direction today in 2024 compared to 100 years ago. There have never been as few wars as today in the history of the world, and the majority of people benefit from globalism in a good way, have modern and peaceful cities, and have access to fast food, coffees, restaurants. And what particularly interests me is that there are tons of entertainment companies, whether technology, films, cinema, K-pop, manga, video games, fashion, etc. And I find that the way we operate today is so much more intelligent, fulfilling, constructive, and brings so much well-being to the body than war. I imagine that the principle of humans is that they have a large dose of energy from birth, and that they must succeed in channeling it in one or more areas. Well, I find it much more constructive to channel one's energy into dance and the expression of beauty, or sport by sculpting a beautiful body, rather than into war, struggle, physical violence. The dance is peaceful, gentle. It does not even hinder other people's bodies. It can transmit energy to people just by being observed, and even better by listening when it is with music, and even better with the sense of touch if you will dance ourselves and make our body more fluid, and even better by dancing collectively. It's night, the temperature is snowy, but we can still see very well. I don't feel the cold. I'm afraid of being detected by a soldier, so I hide behind a tree in the middle of the meadow. I heard them calling to each other from one wood to another, one 50 meters to my left and the others 50 meters to the right, but fortunately heading more in front of me, so not in my way. Then it's daytime. Same scene, but the grass is green and the sky is sunny and blue. Two horse riders try to recover two Polish horses, but they are spiked on the ground, pierced and die. Then I'm left all alone. I really have the feeling of being the last one on the field. I literally don't see anyone in the 500 meters surrounding me apart from the green meadows, the corpses of soldiers and horses. They all went further away, I don't know why. Perhaps to escape an illness that arrives, or an invasion of insects, or a poisoned area that moves and kills us, like in Fortnite. Then I stay all alone and visit the battlefield. I see a village in the background. I go there and go to an abandoned street and corpses, speak with an old lady, and then, all of a sudden, it's as if I was a reporter or journalist, and I was writing this in a thread on my computer, while drinking my coffee in a restaurant in New York, and that I was a typical female journalist from Marvel films, but incredible, with a beautiful personality, active, confident, sure of herself, very involved in her office, or at least that's the character I observe. And that I lived the cliché while being in the middle of today's globalization, drinking my coffee in a New York cafe, then the next moment chatting with my manager while walking through the photography premises. I realize the beauty and positive presence that Marvel films bring, and I really have these two superimposed visions. I see at the same time myself writing this memory on the social network threads, sitting in a public cafe on a wooden table and drinking my coffee, with a view of a New York street behind the bay window, and my mind is at the same time in the massacred street contemplating the scene, but I am there with my body, as if my mind was there because I was visualizing myself or remembering the scene. And so there is a contrast between the horror and the feeling of loneliness of this scene and the hectic and interesting life of a journalist in New York, which takes place today in 2024 or in the Marvel multiverse. Then I wake up at 7:28 a.m. I'm in a nightmare. I'm stressed and I have to follow Squeezy into the sort of still changing rooms near the beach filled with boxes of shoes. We are in a kind of competitive team game and we have to find clues, solve riddles and finish the path as quickly as possible, which stretches over kilometers and over several islands and towns in Greece. I walk all the way, then see that I forgot my shoes. It's horrible. I run back to the first room, see that the chef left his bag in the middle with his scarf on top, as if he was going to come back. Then I see them under my bench. I had just forgotten to put them on when I got up. Except that it's not my sneakers, but other black shoes that are a little too big. Anyway, I put them on then I run breathlessness to catch up with the others through the corridors. Then I see near a door on the right, like an elevator panel, to display the floors, except that it is a clue which gives Nafplio, if we can decipher it, the stopover town that we must reach later. Then an important step, the changing rooms lead onto the beach. You have to cross the sea to arrive at Nafplio, the ancient capital of Greece. You can see the fortress. It's maybe 1 kilometer away. The first time it was low tide. I did it halfway with a coach, and we could walk to the island behind, being submerged up to our stomach, but this time it is high tide, with a lot of waves, so you have to swim. I see a team of 2 people swimming halfway. I tell myself that they are motivated. Personally, I give up, and I wake up.